Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Avadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Sri Vishakhantam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsam Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shakaitam Bhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanushta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavansam Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadvaitam Savadhutam Sahitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanscha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Shat Shishmat. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Shat Shishmat. His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Mayapur Dham ki Jai Jagannath Kshetra Puri Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Tulasi Maharani ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki Samaveda Bhaktivedanta ki. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining this class. Sorry we're starting a little bit late because there was darshan going on. So whatever we can do, we will do. And thank you also for those joining online. So we'll just read the translation together. It's chapter 5, verse 27 to 28. So we'll just read I will read the Sanskrit now, and then we can do together also. 5, 27 to 28, 2 verses. Okay. Sparshan kritva bahirbayam chakshushchayvantare bruvo pranupano samokritva nasabhyantara yatendriya manubudhir munirmoksha parayana vigatecha bhayakrodo yasada mukta evasa. Maybe we'll just go to the translation because we don't have much time. So the translation: shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the 2 eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. Purport: being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity, and then one can understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position, qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna as to how one can come to that position by the practice of the mysticism or yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into an 8-fold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. In the 6th chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed, and at the end of the 5th, it is only preliminarily explained. One has to drive out the sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, and smell by the Pratyahara process in yoga, and then keep the vision of the eyes between the 2 eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose with half-closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because then there is every chance of falling asleep. Nor is there benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is the hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the up-moving and down-moving air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the Supreme. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear and anger, and thus feel the presence of the Super Soul in the transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga principles. This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. A Krishna-conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to come to some other engagement. This is a better way of controlling the senses done by Ashtanga Yoga. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, before I start, I would like to ask your blessings. Please give me your blessings so that I can, thank you, so that we can here today together nourish ourselves with the nectar coming from Bhagavad Gita. So, yeah, we don't have much time, so just today I wanted to focus on comparing this yoga which is described here. Do you know what kind of yoga is described here? Yes, Ashtanga yoga. And what does yoga mean? Yes, to link with the Supreme. Exactly, to connect with the Supreme. Thank you. Very good. So, yeah. So there are different types of yoga, and here is described Ashtanga yoga, which means Ashta means 8 and Anga means limbs, and this is this eightfold yoga, which has these 8 limbs, starting from Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. The goal is Samadhi. And I would like to compare it to Bhakti Yoga. And we can see how difficult, the difference in difficulty, how difficult Ashtanga Yoga is, and how easy Bhakti Yoga is. And also how the goal is actually the same, but the process is much more easy for us to practice in this age of Kali Yuga. And and Krishna says himself in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatanantar atmana sradavan bhajatayamam samayukta tamomataha. He says, and of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So Krishna says himself that for me, the best yogi is someone who always thinks of me, who does things for me, who offers himself to me, who offers all his activities to me. This is the greatest yogi. So, yeah, we will now go into that. But as you can see from the purport, this yoga, this eightfold yoga, is so complicated. You know, it requires so much time to first start with these yamas and niyamas, which are what to do and what not to do. So there are many rules, but I can just mention, like, for example, what not to do. For example, stealing is mentioned, that one should not steal, one should stay honest. And this is yama. And niyama, what one should do, for example, ahimsa is mentioned, non-violence. So this is, again, this is for us, we also have this rules, isn't it? We have 4 regulative principles, and it includes no cheating, so that means no stealing. And the other niyamas, yamas. First, we are speaking about yamas. Yeah, we have 4 regulative principles. No, we should not, like we mentioned, we should not cheat, we should not gamble, we should not take intoxicants, we should not eat meat and fish, eggs, and we should refrain from illicit sex. And also in Nectar of Devotion, text 2, it is described, Pratyahara prasascha, prajalpa niyama graha, jnana sangascha laulyam cha, sadvir bhakti vinashyati. So there are six activities that can spoil our devotional service. We should not do that. We should not eat or collect more than necessary, and we should not endeavor too much to obtain something material, which is very difficult to obtain. We should not just go on talking about material subjects. We should not just follow the rules just for the sake that, oh, I'm following, but if we don't have any conviction, and if we are fanatic about the rules, we cannot make discriminations when sometimes there can be some adjustments made, or we don't want to follow at all. And also association with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Who we associate with, we become like that. So we have to be very, very careful about that, who we associate with. Like we should associate with likely-minded people who we feel inspired by, who we think the same, and we help each other in Krishna consciousness. And also being greedy for mundane achievements, it is said here. If we want to get something, get some fame, recognition. Yeah, and that was our yama. And now niyamas, what we should do. So like we mentioned, that was what was this prescribed was ahimsa, which is non-violence. And we have these 4 pillars. Each regulative principle is meant to help us develop some quality. So no meat eating is meant to help us develop mercy. This is non-violence, ahimsa. So similarly in this Ashtanga Yoga, this ahimsa means that we develop mercy towards other living entities, understanding that they're all spiritual living entities, embodied living entities. Yeah, so this niyamas, we are told we should chant 16 rounds a day, and this will be favorable for us. And also in nectar of instruction, it is mentioned, utsahan nischayat dairyat, tat karma pravartanat, sangatyagat satovrite, sadvir bhakti prasidyati. So there are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. Being enthusiastic, always, sometimes we're struggling. I have to do this and have to do that, but yeah, this service actually should come from, it's supposed to be loving devotional service, right? So, yeah, if we do it something out of love, there is no question that, I have to do it. Just like the mother gets up at night, to feed the child. She doesn't think, oh no, I have to do it. She wants to do it because it's her child. It's out of love. So, yeah, this is something which we can try to aspire, when we see in ourselves that our attitude is, I have to do it. Yes, hopefully we can remember that we're doing it for Krishna, and we're trying to perform devotional service, so this love must be there. Otherwise it's just activity, which doesn't have deep meaning. Of course there is still benefit from that, but we will enjoy much more if we actually try to do it with love for Krishna, with some affection. So being enthusiastic and endeavoring with confidence, that is also very interesting. How endeavoring with confidence, it may seem like I cannot do this service. It seems like it's too much for me. But having this confidence, I was giving this service, I will do my best, and Krishna will help me. Being patient, and it's quite difficult because, sometimes for me it's difficult because I'm thinking, oh no, the same, all the time the same mind issues, and when will I get rid of this material desires and so many anarthas? But I remember Mother Vishaka was sharing with us that that it's just like when we are driving by train, when we are going by train, we are traveling by train, and sometimes we don't even see how far we are going. We don't realize how far we are going, because we are absorbed in conversation with other passengers. We are just spending time with them, and we don't realize that we are moving. But finally we get to the station and we get to the goal. So somehow we have to have this faith and patience. And we should act according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting and remembering Krishna. This is the most important, hearing and chanting, because everything starts from hearing. And we should abandon the association of non-devotees, of course, except of when we preach. I mean, even when we preach, we are not associating with them. We are just giving our knowledge and sharing our experience, but we are not really staying out with them and enjoying the time. And we should follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So that was yamas and niyamas. Asana. So we are also advised, do you know you remember how Srila Prabhupada is advising us to sit? What is he saying? Sit properly, yes. He's saying that in the recording. So this signifies that it's so important to sit properly. Actually, if we sit properly, that's why the yogis, they are advised to sit in a lotus position, because then, if the spine is straight, the prana goes up, and the breathing is very, very good in this position, and then the mind becomes peaceful. It's easier for the mind to be concentrated if we have a straight spine. If when we are sitting and chanting, it's very important, and it really affects the mind. If we are just sitting straight, that means somehow we feel more serious about what we are doing. And if we are our posture is a little bit relaxed, then our chanting or reading, whatever we are doing, also becomes relaxed. And then the mind is relaxed and there is no focus. So it is really important to sit properly, like Srila Prabhupada is saying to us. And then pranayama. So the purpose of this pranayama is to ultimately stop breathing altogether. And why is that? Do you know why the yogis want to stop breathing? It is connected to how many breaths we have in our lives.
Oh, okay.
That was a hint.
Okay. So I was going to say that by stilling the mind, because the mind is ethereal, it's not something that you can control physically.
Yeah.
And by being able to control the breathing, then the mind follows that, and then that becomes still.
Yeah.
But as you just said, from what you read, it seems that we have a certain number of breaths that we can take, and by stilling the breath,
yeah,
that would mean that you extend your duration of life.
Exactly. Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that was both good points that I wanted to say about that. Yes, that like you said, that we have certain amount of breaths, and if we are breathing very fast in our life, actually we're using our lifespan. And that's why the yogis, because they want to live very long, because they want to achieve these mystic powers, and that's why they want to live long, so that they have time to come to the state of, through the meditation, they want to achieve the mystic powers, and and they want to live long. So that's why they stop breathing to live longer, because, like you said, everyone has certain amount of breaths. And this other point was also good, that that it makes the mind still, just like when we are sometimes we are scared and we are breathing very fast, and if we because the mind is agitated, But if we try to forcefully start breathing peacefully, then the mind also becomes peaceful. If we try to slow down our breathing, then the mind becomes peaceful also. That's why, we are always advising, if somebody is very nervous, we're telling them, please breathe slowly. Yes, good. So, the purpose, as mentioned here in this purport, is, and thus that it will help to control the effect will be that one will be able to control the mind, senses, and intelligence. So for us, we don't really, in Bhakti Yoga, this aspect of breathing is not really emphasized. But the purpose of why the same goal is achieved, just like the yogi by breathing achieves the goal of concentrating the mind. For us, we are concentrating on Mahamantra, and this is what makes the mind peaceful, because it purifies the mind from the contamination, and then we are able to, when the mind is purified from the material contamination, at some point we are able to focus on Krishna. So for us, this point of being able to focus is just chanting Hare Krishna. Would you like to add something?
I was just thinking about this point about breathing and controlling the mind, and it's that initially it seems this concept, the whole thing about yoga, it's becoming quite popular. That a lot of people a lot of societies, that although they're not spiritually or religious, they may not even accept Vedic culture, but still they are interested in yoga. And on top of that, this whole point of breathing exercises, that even that has become quite popular, to the point that sports watches, fitness trackers and things like that, they will have exercises on the watch itself that will remind you to take a moment and breathe, and they have various exercises to help with that. So I was just thinking that this society is going towards that, going towards some form of practicing yoga, but you can clearly see, like, if with this whole thing about Ashtanga yoga is that one has to withdraw the after stilling the mind, controlling the breathing, pranayama. It's withdrawing the senses, right? That's the next step. So it's sense control, and then after that it's samadhi. So I'm hoping at some point that the society becomes like that, where it understands that yes, the next step after breathing is, after doing yoga, you do the breathing, and then you control your senses, and then the question comes, is there something more to this?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, and this is amazing, that we know that this knowledge comes from the Vedas about the yoga. Now people are slowly, they are benefiting from that, and they are putting some value. They are appreciating these practices which come from the Vedas. But yes, I see your point. You're saying that they don't really understand what is the goal of this yoga. It's more of a maybe for their all well-being, they will feel more peaceful or more fit. But yes, definitely we need to ask the question, what is the purpose? And like it is explained that this process takes so long, and we live such a short time. That's why this process of Ashtanga Yoga is not really advisable for us in this Kali Yuga age.
Can I make one other point?
Yeah.
I was just thinking when you were speaking about it that this, people are taking to yoga, to doing breathing exercises, but they don't quite know what it is. They don't know the purposes. And I was just thinking that it's just like how Krishna explains that this disciplic succession was lost over the course of time. This knowledge was lost over the course of time, and I was just thinking that it wasn't I remember it was explained that it's not that the knowledge was always there, because how can it be that the Bhagavad Gita was taught, but then after a period, no one had any translations of the Gita. It wasn't like that. It was that the Gita was still being taught, this Vedic knowledge was still being taught, but the essence, the principle behind it was misunderstood or missing. And I was just thinking like the same thing with like this Vedic culture, that it's influencing society, but the principle, the essence of it is being missed. Like people are using this knowledge of the Vedas, about Astanga Yoga, for trying to enjoy the body more.
That is good point. Yeah, they are giving their own interpretation of what is it for. Yeah, that's very interesting point. Thank you for sharing. So after pranayama, then comes pratyahara, and this is described here in this translation. It is said, shutting out all external sense objects. So this is actually the pratyahara, when one withdraws the senses from the sense objects. And it is very difficult to do, because the senses always want to be engaged, and and it's quite unnatural also to do that. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 and verse 58, there is the verse which says in translation, one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense object as the tortoise draws the limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Yes, so then Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that using this example of a tortoise, he's saying that the tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious person are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. So this is how the Krishna conscious person is withdrawing the senses. So that means that someone who wants to become Krishna conscious, one who wants to become a yogi, doesn't have to go to the forest and just stop eating, stop sleeping, drinking, etc. We can continue all these activities, but just direct them towards Krishna. And yes, we need to eat, but we eat Krishna prasadam, and we need to be active. This is our nature, to be active. So we still cook and clean and work, all the varieties of activities. But we do it for Krishna. We are trying to support the temple and devotees. And then that means actually that we are not really engaging our senses in sense objects, because this matter, it seems like we are doing material things, cooking. Yes, we have food stuff and utensils. It's matter. But when we are engaging it in Krishna's service, it becomes spiritualized. Yeah, so, yes. And the next, it is said here that this yogi, he keeps the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, because between the two eyebrows it's called the third eye. And it's said that if one concentrates on this area, one can connect to the Supreme. And I was thinking, it's interesting for us. This is where we are putting our tilak, and this tilak signifies the connection with God. So again, another sign how Krishna conscious person is a yogi. And the result is, as it said here, we mentioned about the control of the mind and intelligence and senses. And then it is also said that one becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. So, for a Krishna conscious person, how does one become free from desire? So it's impossible not to have desires. We always have desires, and even, of course, this is gradually. These desires are meant to be transformed into spiritual desires, but even if there's also some spiritual desires, material desires will be still there for most of us. So what do we do then? And in Bhagavad Gita 2:70 it says, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So Srila Prabhupada said that, that we just have to tolerate these material desires, that they are there, and we just have to tolerate them. But when we start acting upon them and trying to satisfy those desires, as it is explained here, we will never be satisfied, because maybe it will give us satisfaction, for a moment, but it will not give us deep feeling of happiness. And if we compare, some material enjoyments that we may have, and if we compare them to enjoyment which we get from being with devotees, speaking Krishna Katha and doing Kirtan, it cannot be compared. It's something that really lifts us up, whereas purely material enjoyment just brings us down and binds us to this material world, and we can experience that. So, by practice, by being with devotees, associating with devotees, and practicing hearing and chanting, we gradually, our intelligence becomes stronger, and our self-control becomes stronger. And this is the only way, really, to develop this higher taste, and then the lower taste goes. And free from fear, how do we become free from fear? Krishna says, Sarva Dharma Parityaja, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Aham Tvam Sarva Papavyo, Makshayishyami Mashichaha. So he says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me, and I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And when I think about it, I think of this analogy of a child and the mother. And the child, if the child is surrendered to the mother, is listening to, whatever the mother says, the mother always wants the best for this child. So she will always give the best advice to the child. And as long as the child is following and holding on to the mother, the child is safe and completely protected. But the problem starts when the child wants to do their own thing, when it wants to be independent and do something behind mother's back. This is when the problem starts. Then the child is not protected anymore, even though the mother wants to protect the child, but the child has its own free will. So this is our situation in this situation that we are in this material world, that being with Krishna, we are completely protected 100% in the spiritual world, but coming here we lose that, and because we just want to do our own thing. But the more we surrender to Him, even being here, but the more we do things that are pleasing for Him, and the more we avoid things that we are not pleasing for Him, the more He gives us protection, the more we are under His protection, the more... He's always giving protection, but the question is whether we take it or not. So just like the child, can choose, am I taking protection, am I taking shelter of my mother by following what she wants me to do, what she's advising me to do, or am I choosing to do my own thing, what I want? And ultimately the anger. So how do we become free from anger? Because here in this yogi is described, he will become free from anger. So how do we become free from this anger? When do you get angry? Would you like to share? When do you get angry?
When do I get angry? I think when I think the examples that come to mind is being not getting something that I want,
Yeah.
or something being taken away from me.
Yes, thank you. Very good example. Yes, I was thinking about the same. When we get angry when we want something and we don't get it, we get frustrated. Why is it happening to me? But being in Krishna consciousness, we are learning, trying to understand that whatever happens is Krishna's arrangement, and if something bad happens, we just say, okay, this is my bad karma, and actually Krishna diminished, yeah? Yeah, he diminishes this bad karma, and even though we were supposed to suffer so much, he's only giving us a little. And then if something good happens, we are thinking, oh, I don't really deserve it, but Krishna, by his mercy, he's giving that to me. So of course it takes time for us to understand and to accept it, but at least we have something to hold on, isn't it? That, yeah, and we have devotees who will remind us when something bad happens, just this is Krishna, this is his arrangement, and there's a lesson to learn from it. So yeah, and this is how it helps us again to focus on Krishna and control this bad feelings. So again, to wrap it up, I quoted the verse at the beginning. We were doing this comparison between Bhakti Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, and